Here is a big, long, richly detailed, dramatically expanded, and polished rewrite of your text. It keeps the insightful, respectful tone while adding depth, smoother storytelling, emotional layers, and stronger narrative flow. Nobody handed Alex Eala a spot at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. She got in because Qin Wenjing pulled out injured. She entered ranked 45th. She lost in the first round on April 15th to Leylah Fernandez 6-1, 6-4 in front of a packed Stuttgart crowd. On paper, that's a forgettable week. Except the Porsche Village fan event happened first. Before a single ball was struck in Stuttgart, Alex Eala walked into that fan event space, and something that organizers hadn't fully prepared for unfolded in real time. The autograph craze hit so hard that the tournament's own official channels had to post about it. They announced it publicly. Alex Eala's autograph was the most wanted in the entire Porsche Village that day. This is a tournament that has hosted Navratilova, Sharapova, Hingis, and Barty across 48 years of history. Her rival, Fernandez, who later dismissed her in straight sets on court, stood somewhere in that building watching the chaos. And afterward, she couldn't string together a composed sentence about Eala without dissolving into sheer admiration. That's not a loss. That's a statement. Hit subscribe because this channel doesn't do surface-level tennis coverage. Now, let's break down every layer of what happened in Stuttgart and why a speechless Fernandez actually tells the biggest story of the week. Let's start with the Porsche Village itself, because a lot of people outside Europe don't fully understand what that space actually is. The Porsche Village isn't just a sponsor booth or a branded photo wall. It's the beating social heart of the entire Stuttgart tournament. It's where players meet fans in a structured, organized setting. It's where autographs get signed, photos get taken, and the real personality of the tournament gets shaped. Every top WTA player on the planet has walked through that space during tournament week. Swiatek has been there. Goff has been there. Rybakina has been there. This is a venue with nearly 5 decades of tennis royalty passing through its doors. And on that particular day in April 2026, Alex Eala's signature was the one every single person inside that space wanted. Not as a curiosity, not as an "oh, she's the new girl" novelty moment. The tournament's own organizers specifically called it out in their post. They drew attention to it deliberately. That's not something organizations do unless the demand was genuinely impossible to ignore. When the people running one of the most historic WTA events on the calendar feel compelled to publicly acknowledge that a 20-year-old Filipino player has the most wanted autograph in their fan zone, that means something significant happened in that building. Now, here's the angle most coverage missed entirely. Alex Eala walked into Stuttgart through the back door. Qin Wenjing, the Paris Olympic gold medalist, withdrew with a lingering elbow injury. Emma Navarro also pulled out. Eala got the call and slotted into the main draw as a lucky loser replacement. She hadn't earned a direct entry through her ranking at the time. She was ranked 45th coming off a second-round exit at the Linz Open the week prior, where she'd been beaten by Elena Ostapenko 6-4, 7-5 after leading convincingly in both sets. Her clay season had started with a thud. So she arrived in Stuttgart not as a seeded player, not as a headline act, not as someone the tournament had specifically built anticipation around. She arrived quietly through a door that someone else's injury opened for her. And she still became the most talked about person in the Porsche Village before her first match was even played. That contrast is what makes this story worth sitting with, because the tennis world tends to reward visibility through results, rankings, titles, and deep runs. Those are the currencies that buy you the kind of attention Eala was receiving in Stuttgart. She had one WTA title to her name. She'd never played this tournament before. Tournament director Marcus Gunhart confirmed it explicitly. Eala was the first Filipino player in the entire 48-year history of the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix to compete there. First ever in 48 years. That context reframes everything about what happened in the Porsche Village. This wasn't a player returning to familiar territory and cashing in on existing goodwill. This was a debut, a first appearance, and the response from fans inside that space was so overwhelming that it forced the tournament to document it publicly. The Filipino fan base deserves significant credit for engineering that moment, because they didn't just show up, they mobilized. At the Australian Open in January 2026, the situation had gotten so intense that Tennis Australia faced public criticism for placing Eala on Court 6, a small intimate venue instead of a larger show court. Hundreds of Filipino supporters were turned away and had to watch on a nearby big screen. Novak Djokovic, 11 days into what was becoming a record attendance tournament, specifically brought up Eala when asked about the crowds. He said it plainly. "She's coming from the Philippines, which is now a big deal." That's not a throwaway compliment from Djokovic. He doesn't say things he doesn't mean. In Dubai in February 2026, world number 6 Amanda Anisimova was asked about Eala's fanbase after her own quarterfinal victory. Anisimova didn't just say something polite and move on. She stayed after her match to watch part of Eala's third-round win against Aryna Sabalenka. She told the press room, "I've seen the atmosphere. It's amazing." A top 10-player voluntarily staying at a tournament venue to watch a rival's match and then publicly discussing it is genuinely unusual behavior on the WTA Tour. Players are exhausted. Their schedules are brutal. They don't linger courtside for rivals unless something about the spectacle is pulling them in. By the time Stuttgart arrived, this pattern had been building for months across multiple continents. So when Eala walked into the Porsche Village, she wasn't walking in as a stranger. She was walking in as someone whose cultural footprint had already preceded her. That's the first layer of what Fernandez was reacting to. Not just the player, the phenomenon. Now, let's talk about Fernandez specifically, because her reaction after the match is where this story takes its sharpest turn. Leylah Fernandez is 23 years old. She is, by any reasonable measure, an established and highly respected figure on the WTA Tour. She arrived in Stuttgart ranked 25th in the world. She beat Eala convincingly 6-1, 6-4. She dominated the first set so completely that she raced to a 5-0 lead before Eala could find her footing. In the second set, Fernandez broke twice to go up 5-2 and looked like she'd close it out without drama. Eala found something in the closing stages. She broke back and held to make it 4-5, saving 2 match points in the process, but Fernandez regrouped and served out the match. Statistically, Fernandez won 63 of the 109 points played. Eala won 42% of total points on the day. Behind her second serve, Fernandez won 61% of points compared to Eala's 40%. It wasn't a flattering scoreline for the Filipino. But then Fernandez sat down for her post-match interview, and the wheels came off a little. She was asked about the similarities between herself and Eala. Both left-handed, both aggressive baseliners, both known for playing fast and attacking early in the point. Fernandez's response was immediate and visibly genuine. She said it felt like playing against a mirror. She said she just enjoyed figuring it out and having fun with it. But then she added something that landed differently. She recalled watching Eala at the Rafa Nadal Academy years earlier. She said she'd turned to her coach at the time and said, "Wow, she plays quick." She remembered that moment specifically years later. In a post-match interview in Stuttgart, after beating Eala, she reached back into her memory and retrieved a specific conversation she'd had with her coach about this player. That's not something people do about forgettable opponents. You don't archive a random junior player's movement in your long-term memory and then pull it out verbatim years down the line unless that player made a genuine impression on you. Fernandez was essentially confessing that she'd been watching Eala for a long time and that what she'd seen had stayed with her. She also admitted, when asked about the tense closing stages of the second set, that her coach had to intervene mentally at 0-30 while serving at 5-4. Her coach told her, "Eala isn't going to go down easy. She's going to fight. You're going to have to take the match." Fernandez had to be reminded mid-match by her own coaching team not to underestimate the player she was in the process of beating. That detail is easy to miss in a match report. It's significant. A 6-1 first set can make a match look settled when it absolutely wasn't. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of the Porsche Village situation. Fernandez had been at that tournament all week. She knew what had happened at the fan event. She knew about the autograph craze. She knew the tournament's own social channels had highlighted it. And then she walked into a match against the player at the center of that moment. And despite winning comfortably, she came out of it with nothing but admiration to offer. That combination, the dominant scoreline and the completely disarmed reaction, is the thing that makes this story interesting. It wasn't a competitor trying to compliment a winner after a heartbreaking loss. It was a winner trying to explain why the person she just beat has something that transcends the scoreboard. Eala herself had addressed this dynamic in a sit-down interview with the WEA earlier that week in Stuttgart. She spoke about the pressure of carrying a fan base that travels internationally and shows up loud. She described it as sometimes being a lot. She said that without a clear sense of who you are, without what she called a spoonful of gratitude, the attention can swallow you. She was measured, self-aware in a way that doesn't often surface in players this young. She also talked about what it meant to be the first Filipino in the Stuttgart Draw's history. She'd seen this tournament online for years before ever competing in it. She described the feeling of finally arriving in person as completing a puzzle. That's a specific kind of emotional vocabulary, the idea that watching something on a screen for years creates an incomplete picture, and that walking into it in reality fills in the missing pieces. For someone making her debut at a 48-year-old tournament in a city she'd never competed in, ranked 45th, and entered only because someone else got injured, that is a remarkably grounded way to process the moment. The Stuttgart story in full is not really about the autograph craze in isolation. It's not really about one fan event in the Porsche Village. It's about what those things collectively signal about where Alexandra Eala stands in the tennis world right now, and the speed at which her cultural gravity is outpacing her ranking. She is currently ranked 44th in the WTA live rankings following Stuttgart, sitting on 1,285 points. She earned $13,211 from her first-round exit. Had she won that opening match, she would have jumped to a projected 38th ranking. Her career high of number 29, reached on March 16, 2026 following a run to the fourth round at Indian Wells, is still within reach. The Madrid Open starts April 21st. The French Open follows on May 24th. Clay is now the surface that will define her season. But what Stuttgart revealed, and what Fernandez's reaction captured so precisely, is that Eala is operating in a space that very few players on the WTA Tour occupy. She arrived as a replacement. She lost in the first round. She took home one ranking point and $13,211 from a tournament with a €1 million prize pool. And she still left as the player everyone in the Porsche Village was chasing for a signature. The last player to generate this kind of cultural momentum at tournaments she was technically too junior to be attending was a teenager who went on to win 23 Grand Slam titles. That comparison might feel extreme. It might well be. Eala would almost certainly push back on it, but the data is pointing somewhere. Djokovic noticed. Anisimova noticed. The Australian Open noticed, to the point of public embarrassment over a court scheduling mistake. And now Leylah Fernandez, a player with every reason to stay composed and professional, in a post-match interview, walked away from Stuttgart unable to discuss Alexandra Eala without her words turning into something close to wonder. The Porsche Village autograph craze was not the headline. It was the symptom. The headline is that a 20-year-old Filipino player who entered a tournament through an injury withdrawal and lost in the first round has somehow made it so that winning against her doesn't feel like